I think it's going to be a wonderful session. I'm highly excited to listen to these experts who are there on today's panel. Let me just quickly check if Jagdish has joined so we can get him onto the, is there? Otherwise, we'll just keep checking and we'll get him onto the. Okay, so good. So excited to be having so many variety of experts. And in fact, the topic was so important and so critical that, as I said, that we had to put a task force of CIA. So we thought, let's have the CIA. So our CIA today is from consulting industry and academia. And we have got members who have spent minimum 30 years. So I'm saying minimum 30 years. So we have with us Dr. Sankaran. He has spent a lot of time with KPMG. Right now, he's partner KPMG. If I start talking about the areas in which he has worked, you can talk about any standard in the quality or other areas where he has helped organizations to achieve world-class quality, world-class excellence frameworks. Then I think we'll take a lot of time. I would be just giving a brief introduction to the panelists, and I'll request when the turn comes, whatever relevant experience they would like to talk, please do talk about to the audience so that they will be able to know a little bit more about it. So I'll just keep my introduction about you will be very, very brief. Then we are having with us two industry stalwarts, Jagdish Ramaswamy, who is currently the President and Chief Digital and Information Officer at Hindalco. Now, the designation itself says how the things are changing. We used to know CIO, we used to know CDO, now we have Chief Digital Information Officer. So that's the probably things to come in. He's another person who has worked in many areas. He has been instrumentally leading the Six Sigma lean initiatives in larger corporations like Wipro. He will be joining us shortly. Another industry stalwart is an independent consultant, Subhash Khare. He has not only helped organizations to come up with new frameworks to manage, lead. He has written many books. And if I name one is Optimizing the Organization, which is going to be relevant to what we are going to discuss the topic of sustainability. He's also been a coach and facilitator with a specialization in leadership development, behaviors, and organizational changes or organizational improvements. And today, when we talk of sustainability, then we are going to listen a lot from Subhash Khare ji. And I always call him actually the person who thinks out of the box. So you will get a lot of things which will be actually, I keep following his LinkedIn posts, and every post from him is always eye-opener. Then we have with us the member from the academia, Professor Dr. S. Mahesh. Welcome, sir. He has been the Professor of Management at the University of New Orleans and is joining us from US. And I'm myself the convener of India Quality Association, CEO and co-founder for Farm for Full Potential. I'm so pleased to have these experienced panelists for today's discussion. Before I invite my panelists to share their views, I would like to once again welcome all the participants who have joined in today on day 5, the concluding day of Global Summit on Quality, Excellence, and Sustainability. I would like to just share 2 points before I invite our esteemed panelists to share their views. One is how this context of sustainability topic came in when we were discussing the Global Summit on Quality and Excellence. And the second is what are the dimensions which we think we should be focusing when we are discussing today. So, as I was mentioning when I was introducing India Quality Association, there were 2 pillars. One pillar was portfolio management, and second pillar was rising to the occasion. At India Quality Association, our endeavor has been to see how the quality function rises to the occasion. And one such example is in the Corona time, when overnight the quality function of the organizations were tasked to define the processes and procedures to allow people to work from anywhere. The quality team had no background, had no expertise, no skill set. Despite a large number of organizations, the quality department rose to the occasion and they were able to give them some working guidelines to keep the lights on, to keep the organizations alive. Now, the another area is that quality function, if you see, if I just track last 20, 25 years, the type of activities which are performed, whether it is including the business continuity, information security, service management, software management, project management, delivery excellence, the portfolio of quality function actually changes by the day. So one is that there is an opportunity for quality function, or there is a need for the quality function to look at the enhanced portfolio. Second is that probably this is the function in the organization which is the best suited to address the challenge called sustainability. And this word sustainability is such vast that if I start understanding where to start and where to end. So the very good thing today is I just asked ChatGPT. So I asked ChatGPT, tell me what are the challenges, what are being talked about in the sustainability. So it came very clearly 5 points: that limited resources, climate change, economic pressures, lack of political will, and most important, lack of awareness and education. Now, this shows what is the wider perspective when I talk about sustainability. But then if it is big, does not mean that we will not start. We have to make some baby step. And that is how I see today's panel discussion to give a glimpse of how the team of quality professionals, excellence professionals, who are day in and day out tasked with efficiency and excellence. And that is where the organization quality moved from the basic aim of quality, which is being effective. Then we moved to excellence, becoming efficient. But now the question of sustainability brings in the dimension of adaptability. So today we are going to discuss how this adaptability, what for, and how to be adaptable. Then I asked the same question to ChatGPT, that if there is a challenge, then there must be some opportunities. So many opportunities were put forth. And what are those opportunities which are available? Again, there are very many opportunities available to us, because we can do innovation. We can look at sustainability in energy. We can look at sustainability in agriculture. We can look at sustainability in transportation, fashion industry. And this is giving us a lot of opportunity to innovate. Then it also talks about green buildings and also waste management. Since I'm just saying that ChatGPT could tell me that what is the wide spectrum when we talk about sustainability. So today, I'm going to invite the panelists to give us an idea that how big is the challenge, how big is the opportunity, how we people can actually take some smart action so that we can make a contribution to this big problem or big challenge of sustainability. At the same time, we are able to get that opportunity which is coming on our way. So I'm starting straight away to our Dr. Sankaran, because as I said that he, being in consultancy, he has a bird's eye view of what's happening around in the industry or in the world in the area of sustainability. So I would request you, sir, share with us this sustainability. Is it just a buzz, or there's a reality. So how much is the talk and how much is the reality? And what is the kind of a thing do you see is coming in front of us, which the quality team in particular and business professionals in particular need to be careful and need to watch out for? Over to you, Shankaran sir, and you may also take 30 seconds to talk about you, to introduce something which you want to talk about. Over to you.
Sure. Thank you, Anand. And greetings to our fellow distinguished panelists and to all the participants. And thanks to GSDC and IQA for giving me this wonderful opportunity. While I work very deeply in the areas of management consulting, supporting variety of organizations to embark on their journey towards excellence, it's not just quality, it's about business excellence. There's always a constant endeavor for every enterprise and every organization to not only be successful, but also keep adding value to their customers with the earlier thoughts. Now, the world is very clearly moving towards a very differential strategy, which currently, as part of KPMG, we are closely working with industry and doing variety of research. The new buzzword, while we say sustainability here, Anand and fellow panelists will agree with me that world is moving towards TX strategy, which is called as total experience. It is no more just user experience, customer's experience. It is everybody's experience, employees' experience. For instance, what's the contribution of the company to people, to the planet, and then to profit? So it's about stakeholders, it's about suppliers, service providers. Everybody's experience counts. So it's all the CEO and the boardroom today talks about is TX strategy, total experience strategy. By the way, what's a coincidence today? 7th April is also celebrated as a World Health Day. This was the day in the first Health Assembly to celebrate the creation of World Health Organization. Now, why I talk about this? When we talk about sustainability trends, health is also one part of it. While we refer to different dimensions, the last 2 years, what we have been hearing from the companies, especially being part of the top management agenda, is about 10 dimensions on sustainability trends in the last 2 years. Number one, use of solar and wind energy, which is set to increase, particularly now, not only in commercial, but also in home and residential plot. So renewable energy and sources, very important now. Number two, transport is getting transformed. EV, electric vehicles and fuel-less transport are becoming extremely popular. Number three, recycling. Increase in recyclable products and packaging. This will also lead to higher levels of recycling globally. And Anand, we did talk about earlier that the whole business is changing towards a different business model. And two important terms that comes out is circular business model and servitization. So servitization represents the outcomes as a service, not just what we provide as a service or a solution. What's the outcome we create not only to our customers, but also to the society at large. So the responsibility of the organization is multifold increasing, being that total experience, not just one isolated experience. Reuse and repurpose, fourth dimension. More people and businesses will now upcycle, buy, sell secondhand, while before investing in buying new things. Food wastage, very interesting topic. Preventing food waste from going to landfill is also going to become an increasing priority in the community. The next dimension, sixth dimension, is sustainable materials. How companies are going to standardize the sustainable materials. Industries will now focus on replacing and standardizing sustainable methods and materials. And the next dimension, we cannot avoid it, technological advancement. Technology advances will further improve the efficiency and user control of many, many more appliances. The seventh dimension is coming to food part, plant-based diets. Many are becoming food conscious, with plant-based diets and alternative foods set to become the more popular choice. In fact, Anand, you did talk about agriculture. Every sector sustainability touches upon. Look at companies' responsibility on the penultimate dimension, brand and transparency. Public scrutiny on green policies will lead to a demand for transparency. Companies have to be more transparent. Today, you can look at the reporting. Global Reporting Initiative, GRI, is still a very prominent body expecting companies to report the data on their overall sustainability. And ultimate point, last but not least, which we are all familiar with, is permanent remote working. With the reduction in carbon emissions and business cost, remote working is here to stay. It may be in different forms. People may say hybrid working model, different terms, but remote working in some form would continue to stay. While we have taken this topic as part of this panel, I was also looking at Anand, unfortunately, I did not seek information from ChatGPT. Okay, not yet getting there. But then I was just looking at what are the different conversation topics that are going on sustainability across the globe. And I could get about 8 different topics that are currently in voracious conversation in different forms. Maybe a TED talk, maybe a different conference seminars. Number one that claims priorities, net zero commitment. Discussions around it is increasing. Businesses continue to rely on carbon offsetting, second important topic. And third dimension, significant pushback against greenwashing, which is also evolving. And look at the roles of NGOs. More and more companies are willing to partner with sustainability NGOs, right? And we have also seen in the community companies shutting down because of reporting misleading emissions. Similarly, top management team, CEO asked to step down because of misleading emissions reporting. Many businesses are facing such criticisms. Sixth dimension, investors are moving to the forefront of the sustainability conversations. Now, there are significant set of criteria they apply before taking a decisions on investment. And first time, let me bring this word while we use the term sustainability. 3 letters, which is there everywhere today, is ESG, representing environmental, social, and governance. ESG investment is on the rise. And the last 8th dimension is constant push for transparency. When I say these important trends that are happening, we can imagine the role of quality function in a company. While they help the organization on various benchmarking with quality standards and models, this is going to be very important in terms of providing the infrastructure in standard operating protocols and procedures, blend quality management system with the organization management system in terms of enabling the company to contribute to people, planet, and profit. It's going to be very important. 5 global insights have emerged, Anand and team. In 2022 ESG reporting survey talks about 5 things. Workiva did a survey with thousands and thousands of companies, and they called out very clearly. Number 1, there is a lack of trust in ESG reporting. We can imagine what will be the role of quality function inside the company. There's a lack of trust. 2/3 of the senior decision makers feel their organization is underprepared to meet their ESG goals and regulatory reporting mandates. You can imagine the seriousness of this. 72% don't feel, including the regulators, don't feel confident in the data currently being reported to stakeholders, despite 68% of the businesses having appointed an ESG specific role to oversee, monitor, and govern the reporting. Number 2, ESG reporting is evolving. 58% of companies started reporting in the last 3 years. And different role holders have come in. Like you talked about Chief Digital Officer, CDO, Chief Delivery Officer, variety of things. ESG Chief Sustainability Officer, be prepared. CSO will come very soon. It's not Chief Strategy Officer, maybe Chief Sustainability Officer. Then Operations and Facility, Finance, Human Resources. Imagine where the quality function as a nerve center can work with multiple functions in the space. Third dimension, companies today have significant apprehension around the letter E in ESG, which is environment. Therefore, their budget allocation is almost 43 to 44% to environmental, then compared to social and governance, which is about 29 and 28% respectively. Number 4, technology is needed to advance ESG reporting. 75% say technology is important in reporting, in compiling and collaborating on data. And almost 80% say it's also useful for validating data for accuracy, because data sovereignty is becoming an issue. And 85% typically mention technology is important for mapping disclosures to regulations and framework and standards. Let me tell you, lots of disclosures is going to bind the companies in the coming future. In India alone, we are talking about making 1,000 companies mandatory on BRSR. right? Which is business responsibility and sustainability responsibility, which is going to come through. And almost still 30 to 27 to 30% of people say legacy IT systems are not compatible with new required technology, and still people don't fully understand what technology is available or needed. 1 in 5 reported that their organization does not employ technology that is suitable for managing sustainability and ESG reporting process and program initiatives. And the last dimension, fifth dimension, is ESG reporting. In fact, this is positive, delivering very optimistic business values. 7 in 10 say their ESG reporting has already generated positive impact across their customers. On what account? Customer retention, recruitment, cost savings, insurance or credit agency engagement, investor and stakeholder relationship, and resulted in a significant reduction of long-term risk. While these numbers, to place them in perspective, very clearly indicating the responsibility of the companies are going to increase. In fact, CRISIL Sustainability Yearbook, they keep publishing. For the year 2022, they have also published with the sense of important signal to the community that only 1/5 of the companies in our universe published their sustainability report in 2021. Only 1/5. So that means, again, a lot more emphasis. I will not be surprised very soon, certain things in this space is going to be mandatory. For 50% companies, the CEO remuneration growth is aligned with their operating profit growth, right? Scope 3 emissions are published by only 63 companies. And surprise, surprise, is only 14 Indian companies are in the leadership category and 73 are in average and weak categories, because CRISIL gives a score for environment, social governance separately. More than 70 is considered to be excellent, less than 50 is considered to be weak. So very clearly we are heading to a very interesting and exciting times for every function in the company to play their part, and most importantly, quality function will have to align everything. They cannot be looking at any of the organizational excellence in silos. It has to be a combination of variety of things, and ESG is a very important area that the quality function need to upscale. So probably here I would say, before I hand it over back to you, Anand, that we can't change the direction of the wind, but we can certainly adjust our sail. Back to you.
Sure. Thank you so much. I think, as expected, that the canvas on which we need to talk about, the canvas on which we need to act upon, is really, really wide. But as you have given indications that what are the areas which we need to act upon, and I'm seeing a lot of actions happening on our chat box also. So people are liking what you are sharing. Now, getting some sense of what does it mean to enter into this topic of sustainability. You touched upon the understanding what needs to be done, then actually doing it, and then talking about it. So before I come to talking about it, which I will be talking to Professor Mahesh, let me first come to our veteran from industry, Subhash Khare ji. Now, when so much of complexity related to sustainability is being talked about, whether we are talking of ethics in reporting, whether we are talking about priority of actually doing it, and then actually knowing what needs to be done, it calls for a completely new attitude, probably new set of skills, and overall, maybe it might require repurposing of the organization itself. When such a large level of transformation is required in any organization, which is going to impact not only the organization, but the society and the planet at large, what would be your take on how the organizations have to themselves transform? Being an expert of the organizational development, I would be very happy to listen to your words of wisdom. Over to you, Subhash.
Thanks, Anand. I'm going to keep it extremely simple, as you know I always do, and counterintuitive, which again I always do. So the title of this summit is Global Summit on Quality, Excellence and Sustainability. So the fact that we had to bring in these three words means that they are not same. They are different from each other. Now, if they are different from each other, do we visualize them as three circles, a Venn diagram, and three circles with some overlapping areas, and explore those overlapping areas? Actually, I don't see it like that. The way I see it, these are three pieces of a bigger jigsaw puzzle. So all three are different. Their shape is different. Their connectivity is different. But there is one thing which is very important, which is required, that they should connect with each other. Only then the jigsaw puzzle will be complete. And there are more pieces in the organization. Each piece is different, but it should talk, the quality piece should talk to sustainability piece and excellence piece and all of that. Now, since my background has been on behaviors, organizational behaviors, from a behavioral point of view, quality conventionally has been driving process compliance and process orientation. What do you need in people to be quality conscious? Process orientation. Excellence. What does excellence need in people? Achievement orientation. So achievement orientation and process orientation are slightly different. What does sustainability require in people? Purpose orientation. Now that's where the catch is. Are we developing purpose orientation in our employees, in our team, in our senior leaders? Or have we found a more convenient way of calling sustainability and ESG as a goal, the way we did to quality and the way we did to excellence? And we are hoping that people will achieve that goal. Now, the biggest problem with goals is people achieve them. And when they achieve them, we have to find out how have they achieved it, by sacrificing something else. And that is what landed us in the issue of sustainability in the first place, right? Why did we land into the global warming issue? Because organizations were chasing economic growth at the cost of something which nobody was measuring, right? So that was the easy scapegoat, and that was sacrificed. But now that we have realized and the world has realized it, we had to bring it back into our attention. But should we make it a goal? If we make it a goal, then we are actually trivializing it, because goals people will achieve. Sustainability is a much bigger area and much bigger gamut of focus. The way I see what is required in the organization is that the efforts towards sustainability should themselves be sustainable, which is not true with goals. The effort towards goals are never sustainable. And you bring in a new goal and then the focus gets shifted to the new goal and so on. So I would say that the first ground rule is efforts towards sustainability should themselves be sustainable. And that can happen only if we position it as purpose orientation, because sustainability is beyond the organization. Quality is not so much beyond the organization. It is about the processes and at best how it impacts the customer. Excellence is not so much beyond the organization, but sustainability is a different ball game. It is much, much bigger than the organization. And therefore, both process orientation and achievement orientation cannot do justice with sustainability. You need a different mindset, different thinking. And in whom do we need this purpose orientation? In every employee. So sustainability, I don't see it as a function. I don't see the role of Chief Sustainability Officer itself as sustainable. And even if maybe organizations initially may require some focused attempt, and it may be a good idea to have a Chief Sustainability Officer, but the moment you want to have the confidence that you have institutionalized sustainability, you need to get that role out of the way, because then sustainability is really sustainable. Same views I have for digital transformation also. You may need a CDO initially, but you have digitally transformed and institutionalized digital transformation when you say that now we don't need a CDO. In fact, with quality also, I would say the same thing, that if you have a platoon of quality professionals in the organization, then it means quality is missing. Otherwise, why do you need so many people to drive quality? Right. So the acid test is when you can do away with the extra focus on sustainability, it becomes a way of life. It becomes a habit. Now coming to what are the behaviors and culture required for sustainability. Now, certainly goal orientation not required, because I am not positioning sustainability as a goal. Purpose orientation is required instead of that. And what all behaviors go along with purpose orientation. You can't have two hard role boundaries. You cannot have SMART goals, which don't allow you to, which are so specific and so measurable that you are bound by them. So what you need is fuzzy roles and fuzzy goals. And the fuzzy roles and fuzzy goals help you to exercise the flexibility and autonomy and the empowerment what it offers to you in order to exercise your purpose orientation. And when you are purpose oriented, you can't put it on in black and white as to what tasks you will do. It may change depending upon the situation. And that is why that blurring the boundaries will help. Agility. More than speed, we need agility in the organization. The difference between the two, speed is how fast you go in a given direction. Agility is how fast can you change that direction. So they are complementary, they are not opposites. And we need agility as a part of culture. We need decision making at the edge of the organization. The frontline people who are talking to agencies outside the organization should be taking the decisions. We need empowerment. We need the concept of fail fast, which is the essence of agility. We need innovation and experimentation for sustainability. So if you see, these elements are quite different from conventionally what organizations have been driving for quality and even for excellence, right? So in my view, driving sustainability is a very, very different game, and we should allow that to happen. In the process, organizations will grow, they will learn something new. And as somebody has said, it's not what you achieve, but it is what happens to you in the process of achieving that, which is growth. So while organizations may do their bit around sustainability, but what will happen as a transformation to the organization itself in that pursuit will be value adding for the organization. Thanks.
Wonderful, wonderful. I think as I was expecting, a lot of new thoughts have come in from your side. That bringing purpose orientation, I think that's the underline, and keeping the sustainable effort sustainable. And of course, the new set of skills which are required in the organization, very well said in terms of fuzzy goals and fuzzy roles and being agile and having adaptability. I think adaptability is very, very important because we had been focusing only blindly on efficiency and effectiveness. And because of the over focus on efficiency and effectiveness, probably the adaptability part gets the backseat. And having heard Dr. Sankaran and Subhash ji, and getting to know what changes are required in the organization, and also the important dimension of changes in the organization have to be managed. So none other than Professor Mahesh, I would request you to particularly talk about the dimension which Sankaran touched about the ethics. See, we might be talking about purpose, and sometimes we talk only for the purpose of talking. As has been seen in the recent past, that a lot of organizations talk about sustainability only to probably get some marketing brownie points and giving them that, oh, they are the sensitive people. They are worried about the planet. They are worried about the society. But inside, they may not be genuinely making any effort. Sometimes it is noted that maybe you are saving something, but it is getting pushed away. Like you say that I'm trying to move to, somebody says I'm moving to electrical vehicle. But then if energy is being used, which is anyway coming from coal, then you are shifting the consumption from one place to other place. The second area which I would like to request you to give some suggestion on this very dimension of, people reporting, but not reporting right. And sometimes maybe not reporting right intentionally, but actually their measurement system itself is wrong. It's like in our service management, we say that the watermelon effect, outside it is green, inside it is red. So all the matrices, all the target numbers, they're all positive, they're all green, and everybody is happy. Oh, we have done a wonderful job. But inside it's all red. So sometimes it may be because of lack of understanding of the measurement, sometimes lack of definition of the measurement, and sometimes maybe because of the what we call ethics issue. I deliberately give wrong input. Now, such a complex situation, and to address the complex situation of sustainability, sir, we request your words of wisdom on this. Over to you.
Thank you. First, I'd point out I'm retired. I retired 2 years ago, so I'm no longer working as a professor. I agree with what Mr. Khare said just earlier. In 40 years back, when we started quality management in businesses, Dr. Deming's argument was make sure that quality is everyone's goal, that you no longer need a separate quality department. Quality is just a part of the organization. And it took a long time, and a few companies did it well. Many others simply set up a QC department, turned out reports, got ISO 9000 certified and CMM certified, or whatever else. And I guess it's going to happen in sustainability also, given the track record with quality. And sustainability is much more difficult to measure. It's unlike quality. If I measure the dimension of a car door, does it fit in correctly or will it rattle? Physical measurements are easy. Sustainability measurements are much more difficult. And so that's basically what I'm going to do. Interestingly, I have sent the talk I'm making today to Mr. Prakash, Anand Prakash, and he will send it out to everybody. I used ChatGPT to write it. So to be very honest, I didn't write it. ChatGPT wrote it. Now, I've used ChatGPT years ago in the classroom in exercises. It was a work in progress. I would tell students, this is down the road. But version 4, and I used only the free version, not the one that's, really the latest version. I used the free version. It has guardrails and it limits what it does. It also doesn't look at current internet data. It only looks at 2-year-old data that's been, provided to the system. It's magnificent. I tried it 30 days ago when it first came out, and it made a lot of mistakes. Every day I log in, it's smarter. About 4 days ago, I gave it an operations management problem with missing parameters. It solved it. Very interesting. I've not seen that solution before. So it is, to me, the biggest invention I have seen. And I think it's going to evolve very rapidly. And this paper was written in an hour-long conversation by ChatGPT, not by me. I initiated it, I directed it, I cut and pasted, and then did some editing. It's an hour's work. That's about 10-fold productivity that I would normally have. And it's good. I won't say it's perfect, but it's good. And, when he sends it out to you, please read it. So I'm going to just read from it, so it's not my presentation. So sustainability management failures, the challenges of estimating and reporting sustainability performance. So it started out, I asked for some examples of failures of sustainability, and ChatGPT came up with the Volkswagen diesel engine software, 2015, pharmaceutical company Novo Nordisk, its energy efficiency improvements in 2016, European Commission report of 2018, 2019 sustainability company rating agency MSCI and their failures. It gave me a list of failures that you can see in the document. Brooklyn Metro Tech, they installed bike racks in the metro station to get LEED certification. Nobody used the bike racks. So they ended up spending money to get a certificate that really did not save the environment. So there are a number of such cases of failures of sustainability ratings. So what are the reasons? Again, this is from ChatGPT. Much of the sustainability data depends on self-reported data. The companies report their own data. It's not data taken by an external agency that says you are good or you are bad. They take their own data, they report it. So that creates a problem, bias and manipulation. 2, there's a focus on a narrow set of metrics. I may start focusing on the efficiency of air conditioners in my building. And I could be an oil company, massive pollution elsewhere in my primary product, but sure, all my buildings are LEED certified. Okay. 3, greenwashing, misleading claims about performance. So then I asked ChatGPT for greenwashing examples. First example, many fast food chains switched from plastic to paper straws. But the paper straws themselves have some chemicals in them to prevent them from leaking. And so they are not biodegradable. So you have not really improved your sustainability. He talked about fossil fuel companies saving on paper clips, commitments to reduce plastic packaging. So a manufacturer says, I won't use plastic packaging, ships the product without packaging. Somebody else packages and sells it. Hey, you push the responsibility off somebody else and say, my hands are clean. Okay. Fashion industry, they will make coil. You use that and say that's sustainable. But then the packaging and the shipping and everything else, highly unsustainable. Okay. So it came up with a list of examples. Then it talked about reports from Oxford University in 2020 that sustainability ratings are corporate ratings. They may not be assigned with global goals, limitations on data quality and transparency. Things that Mr. Sankaran talked about, came up with that. So then I asked about Dr. Deming's view on quality. When I first studied about quality, I read Dr. Deming's book and listened to his lectures. And one of the things he said was managers tend to look at numbers because numbers give some kind of accuracy. And that result, the real improvement in quality is to understand the process and system, not just look at numbers. Okay. The factory is out there polluting or dumping things, and you are looking at numbers. Numbers look good. Okay. So he talked about that need to the specious accuracy of numbers. That's Dr. Deming's term. And interestingly, ChatGPT came up with this and said this is a problem. In sustainability, it's a really big problem because it's not a single dimension. It's multifaceted. It is complex. So I asked about that, and ChatGPT talked about the environmental product declaration system and all of its complexity. So here is the problem. You have a very complex measure. Most managers like a single measure. An example is the 2008 financial crisis in the US, when there were mortgages that crashed. The problem started with the Gaussian copula function being used to calculate the reliability of mortgages. The tranches of mortgages, and you look at the correlation between them, the copula function gave a single number. And so what they did was to say, let's look at this number. If it's below the number, we'll buy. Above the number, we won't buy. Actually, a first grade student can do that, right? You can give a number and say, buy anything below the number, sell and don't buy above the number. So they went on a single number, missing the fact that the whole correlation, all these assets were actually correlated. Primary cause of this crisis. Well, the same thing is going to happen. Anytime numbers are complex, we look for a single sustainability score. 1 to 10, 5 stars, 4 stars, 3 stars. I've got 4 stars. People forget the complexity involved in it. So when processes and measures are too complex, managers typically resort to a simple scoring outcome that can capture the essence of the measurement. This can create a new set of problems. ChatGPT's words, not mine. Okay. So when sustainability is based on numbers, what are some problems? Well, managers may do what is needed to generate the numbers. That's fabrication. That's outright fraud, which is wrong. But also there can be precision without accuracy. What is the temperature? 73.548 degrees, 3 decimal point accuracy. The measuring instrument has an accuracy of plus or minus 1 degree Fahrenheit. Okay, what's the point of a 3 decimal point accuracy when your measurement instrument is only a degree off? You put it in the mouth, the thermometer is going to be 2 degrees out, 1 degree or up or down, depending on how it's kept. So why go to 4 decimal points? It doesn't help. So that's specious accuracy. Over-reliance on metrics. We have done this in quality. Focus on quality and revenue doesn't work. Focus on revenue and customers are not happy. Same thing with sustainability and its multiple dimensions. Cherry picking data. You look at 1 quarter where you made improvements and highlight it. That's normal. That's marketing. We do that. But that's going to happen with sustainability. And setting arbitrary benchmarks or standards. Reduce carbon emissions by 5%. Why 5? Why not 4? Why not 6? By the way, Dr. Deming's book on Out of the Crisis talked very much about quality and the same problems with quality. Improving quality by 3%. Why not 4? Why not 2? How did you come up with it? The same thing applies to sustainability. It's crucial to approach data with a critical eye and use a range of assessment rather than relying solely on one scoring instrument or set of metrics. Again, ChatGPT's words, not mine. I mean, it's just beautiful. I mean, last 30 days I've worked with it. I just think, how did I get along for the last 40 years without it? But what is scary is it's improving every day. It's improved in the last 30 days. Every day I go back to it, it's better than it was the previous day. So I think it's going to fundamentally change the way in which we write reports. And if you think about sustainability reporting, you take all the corporate data and write a report. This version of ChatGPT does not have current data. It doesn't have proprietary data. It has only the publicly available data for training. They put guardrails on it also. Take them away, give it access to your corporate data within the company, a clone of ChatGPT. It's going to generate sustainability reports that beat anything we can write manually. And it's going to happen in every field. By the way, I also did coding on it. It writes great SQL. Incredibly good SQL. I can give it my database example and it writes good, complex SQL code accurately, as well as Ruby on Rails accurately as well. So that's what do we need to do? In conclusion, sustainability measures are essential for the business, but companies must adopt these measures genuinely and avoid greenwashing practices. That summarizes not my presentation, but ChatGPT's presentation.
Thank you, Professor Mahesh. I know you have been giving credit to ChatGPT, but that's not truth. That's not 100% truth. That's partly truth.
Well, I'm the director. You know, it's like the actor, and there is somebody who writes the music, and there is somebody who, you know, does the cinematography, and I'm just a director that says cut. And then I got away with it.
So that's where you know the power of director is how much potential they are using of the actor or the artist.
Yes. Hey, I'll take credit for that.
and precisely the important is what question do you ask?
True.
It's not the answer, but the question which is more important. And that's where actually today's quiz, the logic behind putting today's quiz, that for last 4 days, we have been selecting the good answers. Today we'll be selecting the good question. Because as you emphasized during your presentation about the ChatGPT, a lot of people look at it negatively, but that's the positive dimension. That ChatGPT will not give you right answer unless you ask a right question. So the power has shifted from pushing the answer to pushing the question. And that's why today's quiz also will be based on the questions. So now, nobody has to fear about the ChatGPT, but we have to be smarter to ask the smart question.
I would likely disagree there. I know there's been talk about this term called technological displacement for more than 100 years. And every time a new technology came, people feared for jobs. In the long run, the jobs have been created. The economy has adjusted itself over and over. This time around, I think ChatGPT's rate of growth is so fast, the fact it can teach itself and get better. And also it's possible to clone it. You know, in 1995, I was at an internet conference in Silicon Valley, and the first internet companies were starting out. Google had not even started at that time. But it took 20 years to lay the cables, build the routers, train people to build e-commerce and get to where we are, 25 years. In the case of ChatGPT, cloning a machine is very easy software. And I think a lot of people will be able to do a lot more with less, which also means we will need a lot fewer resources. So anybody that's doing data collation, collection, report writing, there is going to be a severe, very serious impact. And I believe in the very short term, in the next few months to a year. That's my feeling.
No, absolutely. I think
it's going to have a much bigger impact than other things where technological displacement did not occur. At least it took so many years that people could be retrained for new jobs. This is much faster.
No, absolutely. I think that's another topic which will require an in-depth understanding of how the technology landscape as AI gets into the normal working is going to impact. But I think the way you put it up and the way we are seeing from the perspective of sustainability, because sustainability being a complex topic, it will have complex challenges. And technology like Chat GPT, as you rightly said, can also help in terms of solving those problems. Like if the challenge is only to make the sustainability report, that making report pain gets taken away. Then where should the effort go? As you rightly said, the effort should go in terms of making it accurate, whether your measurements are accurate. As you gave the example of if your thermometer, the accuracy itself is a problem and you're reporting at 3 digits, doesn't make any sense. So I think the effort and the focus will shift. Or as Subhashji said, people have to be purpose oriented. People have to be talked about some of the skills which they have yet to be developed. Or as somebody was saying that there was a joke on that side, just that the AI was asking, that will your job be taken away? So AI says, if your work doesn't involve intelligence, then your job is safe. Did you understand it? He said, no. Then he said, oh, you are safe. So maybe, so that's a topic I think we will discuss. But today, important dimension you have brought about is the accuracy of reporting, the intent of reporting, and the timeliness of the reporting. Because if I don't report it timely, then it doesn't add to the value. Now, let me take a quicker second round, and I come back to again Dr. Sankaran. See, having heard three of you, we have started scratching this topic, this elephant. Still, we are not able to put our hands around, this elephant called sustainability. So, as has been in the past, there are some frameworks, some standards. They are the ones which give us information or the knowledge in a capsule manner, and also it ensures that the organizations who want to make a sincere effort in the area of sustainability, they don't take in multiple directions, so that put together they're not able to make an impact on the planet. So if you can quickly talk about the standards or the frameworks which are getting popular, which can help organizations to have a directional impact with respect to sustainability initiatives.
Sure, Anand. So, taking the cue from Mr. Subhash and the professor, I think excellent point of views. I am reminded of this short stories that we see on the roadside, children playing with the tire. We all have seen it, right? And they take a stick and hit the tire until the time it picks up momentum, and then they don't hit. They will run along and then guide it. I think for the organization also, the roles that we talked about, certifications, we talk about all the metrics that we refer to, they all come as a guide. Okay, initially it might seems to be hammering, but then eventually it has to change the role to become a guide for the organization to lead them towards the right direction. We can't keep hammering anymore. So I completely in agreement with Subhashji and Professor when they said certain roles are introduced in the company with certain purpose, and when the purpose is getting institutionalized, the role will slowly disappear. But again, going back to Dr. Deming, as Professor fondly reminded him, he was driving for total quality organization. It was always that. TQM, Dr. Juran, Dr. Deming, they're always talking about use all these certifications. They're all like rivers finally reaching the sea. All these certifications that help the companies to move in the direction of total quality organization. And towards that, none of these must be seen in isolation. The problem with some of the organization is looking at these certifications, looking at these norms, and then quickly jumping with the thought process of mere compliance for the sake of it, without understanding the larger intent. How do I get ISO 9000? How do I get CMI? How do I get ISO 14000? It's not isolated certification. Finally, organization is a connected enterprise working towards that goal. And on a lighter note, Dr. Deming also said, in God we trust, all others please bring data. Right? He also made a very, very clear remark on this. Now, the practical challenges on the metrics, as I completely agree with Professor, it's like on a lighter note, I have to say, if someone is suffering from fever, they take the thermometer, check the temperature. Okay? And when they look at it is about 101, 102, what is the best way to become normal? Shake the thermometer. It will become 98.4. Now, most of the times when you work with the metrics, we don't know what is that we are measuring. How is that getting aligned? Now, the emission is very, very wrong with the software technology. What is that we need to do with the software to get the emission to the acceptable? You will not work with the product, will not work in the supply chain, will not change the process. Process remains same, operations remain same, but metrics alone have to change. Is like working and taking actions with the thermometer, not actually consuming the tablets or needed things. This way, the metrics is not going to help the organization. While it might possibly pass the regulators, but then not from the long run perspective. Now, therefore, what happens? Certifications are introduced. One good thing I see the certifications is, yeah, I can't keep searching for best practices everywhere. So hopefully these standards, frameworks, models, and certifications, they all call out these best practices explicitly, which will be given back to the company. Now look at this and start benchmarking your own practices. But benchmark your practices, put the operational process in place, follow them. Certification is incidental. But then if I get certification in the forefront, then everything I do for the sake of it, then I allow, unfortunately, models and frameworks and standards like ISO 9000 CMI to hold me rather than me holding it. Go and ask any of the practitioners, why did you do this? Because this is what standards wants. Oh, this is what regulators wants. Oh, this is what certification wants. Now, why can't we say, I do this because this is how I contribute back to the community? Because I don't want to contribute negatively. I think the larger intent and value out of this compliance must be in the minds of the leadership team rather than getting for the certification. While you ask me this question, there are plethora of certifications that are on the way, Anand. Right? You may call it as different corporate governance framework that are coming through. Interestingly, newer certifications are coming through, which is in terms of does really certification matters. For example, LEED. You did talk about buildings. Okay, leadership in energy and environmental design. LEED is one of the popular and well-known prolific green building certification system coming on the way. US Green Building Council, USGBC, is also picking up standards to provide how does the energy efficiency, water efficiency, carbon dioxide emission reduction, how are these being complied with the companies? The most popular one we all have been lived with many years is ISO 14000, again for environmental management system, gaining popularity at this point in time. B Corp certification, again another international certification that verifies whether the companies meet the highest standards of overall social and environmental performance, including public transparency and legal accountability. B Corp certification is gaining prominence. It's important for the quality function to know these, right? This is where it's going to go through. Green Business Bureau, which has also come out with a program which is very robust, and it helps companies to become more sustainable. As Mr. Subhash said, this is more sustainable because they are actually bringing in online mechanism for eco assessment and eco planner tools. And green business certification, which is housing over 400 green and social initiatives. So it's called as GBB certification with the classification of silver, gold, platinum certification levels, as we have seen in many other certifications. The next is GRI, Global Reporting Initiative, which is an independent international organization that is also helping businesses in doing this. SASB, very prominent today, Sustainability Accounting Standards Board. This has developed a complete set of 77 industry standards. Of course, it's going for some revisions, which is going to go to 81 industry standards. That is also very ideal for public corporations requiring complete disclosure of their sustainability efforts. TCFD, Task Force on Climate-Related Financial Disclosures, also being created by Financial Stability Board, by the way, to improve and increase reporting of climate-related financial information. So, Anand, now these are the things. Now, I think, along with agreeing with my fellow panelists, if I'm not quoting myself from Chat GPT, what I had also asked for, I think it's then it's a sense of incompleteness.
I think we'll hold the Chat GPT for some time because audience is getting little nervous on listening to Chat GPT. so and also I think looking at the time, because we'll start the Q&A at around 8:15. So let me quickly jump over to Mr. Khare. But I think again you gave so much of what's coming up. Means we have so much reference points available. So rather than to really trying to work in the dark, let's go and refer to these standards, which can definitely give us a good start point. But as we all agree that it is an emerging area, so nothing is casted in the stone, right? It's all in the revision stage. And we should be contributing also to get it revised. So don't just blindly follow it. because people who have created, maybe they also had a limited view of the elephant. So we have to ensure that we also make them see the elephant as we see the elephant. So both the people have to see it together. But coming to Subhashji, again, when so much being talked about Sankaran, this is standard, that is standard, I started scratching my head. That means so much has to be read. But more than the reading, I think it is the leadership of this organization. They need to change. And you being an expert in the leadership development, what are the 2-3 key points which I think the leaders of tomorrow, leaders of organizations which will be sustainable organization, which will be operating and being excellent in this aim with this whole sustainable planet, what are the leadership changes? Over to you, sir.
Yeah, so I will take an analogy, Anand. Visualize a school-going child who has not studied much throughout the year, but he gets very good marks. Now, actually, parents should be questioning, how come? What did you do? And how did you achieve such good marks without studying? And same thing is required in the organizations. We know that sustainability is a tough area. ESG goals are tough. If any organization easily achieves it, they should ask, how come? What's wrong? How can we achieve it so easily? And then the seriousness will come. So the change management which is required in the organization should be such that it gives you confidence that if we do these changes in the organization, we will be moving closer to sustainability. And if we have implemented those changes in the organization, which is around the mindset of people, the processes, how we measure people, how we allocate roles and goals, how we reward and recognize people, and all of that needs to change in that sense to make the organization purpose-oriented, as I said. Then certifications and goals, ESG goals are incidental. They only reaffirm to you that you are on the right path. And that's the role of certifications. They should validate that you are on the right path rather than passing an exam and celebrating about it. So a big change is required. For years, we have messed up with the planet, and it's not going to be easy. Undoing it, we have to question the very notions which we have followed in all these years, because of which this messing up has happened. We have to question those and undo those, change our thinking, change our mindsets, and change our approach. And then we can create a sustainable world. So I would say quality professionals can look at quality in a sustainable manner. That would be equivalent of connecting the two pieces of the jigsaw puzzle. People who are working on business excellence or trying to achieve tough business goals should do that in a sustainable manner. And that's how integration with sustainability will happen. And all this is good amount of culture work which organizations need to do.
Wow, fantastic. So I think basically the leadership has to be relooked at in a completely different way. We just can't fall back on our past to see what best happened, because past may not be the true indicator for what we should be doing in the future. If we have to have the concern for future, then we have to be futuristic, and we have to really think differently at all levels, not only at the leadership, but at the society level and at all the levels. So with this input from Subhashji, actually the question coming to my mind to Professor Mahesh, you being in the management education, what do you think that at education level we need to change? Because the future leaders are going to come from the institutes. And if we don't teach them what is required to be successful in a sustainable world, then we cannot expect a sustainable organization. So what is your take on this? Over to you, sir.
Yes, this is a long-term process. If you think about quality, we introduced courses in quality in business and engineering only after business itself had started implementing it. TQM courses came much later. It's unfortunate. I felt always that way, that we didn't take the leadership in that. But when we saw business accepted, we said, hey, let's introduce a course. We kind of trailed business in bringing it in. Now, of course, it's very much a part of both MBA and industrial engineering programs, where we make sure they understand quality. There are standard textbooks for it and everything else. So the same thing is true with sustainability. It's a very new field. And while there is research being done, it's going to take time for the standard textbooks to be developed, and then it's added into the curriculum, which is being done. But even looking at the MBA curriculums now, sustainability is not as large a role of the curriculum as it is of the corporate world. Same thing that happened 30 years ago with quality, which is kind of embarrassing, but that is true. We have to introduce sustainability in the curriculum. And the problem is this: when you teach something, if it's changing consistently, it's very difficult to introduce it in the classroom when it's not the same 6 months later or 1 year later. We like to teach things that are more stable and are more well-known at the undergraduate level in particular. Doctoral level is different, but undergraduate level or a professional level, we like only to teach things that we have a track record that work. Teaching something very unique, we do that at maybe the doctoral level, but we don't do that at the undergraduate level. So it's going to take time, and slowly we are seeing sustainability being introduced as a required course in a lot of programs. So we are unfortunately going to track it. We are not going to lead it. That's just not the way university systems are set up, unfortunately.
Thank you. Thank you. But I think there is a dire need to introduce this topic. And that's where I think some efforts are going on when the United Nations is talking about sustainable development goals. And I hear schools doing some courses on SDGs. And also I hear some management colleges. Actually, I know some institute in Gurgaon here, they recently introducing a course on sustainability. But I think again, the challenge would be that, as it was mentioned, that it should not become another tick mark. So people just get to know there are 5-point checklists to be filled, and how good and how not so good I fill the checklist. I think that is what is the major thing. So purpose, I think, becomes the major thing behind, and the truly living that purpose. Now, I will request each one of you to make a concluding remark, but before that, let me invite the speakers, invite the participants now. So we have another 14 minutes or so for Q&A. Mr. Bala, can you come on the screen? SM Bala? Yeah. Okay, so participants, thanks very much for listening to the discussion from the panelists. Looking at the chat comments, I'm really excited that all of you have been fully engaged, and there were a lot of positive comments being put. Now is the time for you to ask the question. So time starts now. Anybody can take the lead. As was mentioned by Sitalu, SM Bala will be also evaluating the question. 3 broad criteria will be the relevance of the question, the specificity of the question, how specific the question is, and how is the impactful the answer of that question. Okay, let me just now move to the chat box. Yeah. Just
there were a couple of questions in the beginning
yes,
of the discussion. Probably you can roll up and then see the questions.
Okay, so let me start. The question from Shwetang Sharad. Attaining social sustainability is one of the challenges. How can this challenge be overcome through leveraging excellence models or operational excellence? It's not specific to anybody. Maybe Sankaran, you want to take this, having an expertise on excellence models.
Okay, I saw Mr. Subhash raise his hand. I'll follow him. Yes, Mr. Subhash.
Yeah.
Okay, so social sustainability, and I'm seeing that change happening in many organizations, especially with respect to their view on diversity and how and inclusiveness, diversity and inclusion, and how people with a variety of abilities, people with a variety of educational background, experiences, what they studied in school and colleges, can take any role. And I know somebody who studied architecture in graduation and then did a post-graduation and working with a technology company designing technical products. So that kind of, meandering organizations allow. and especially work from home will also ease out some of those unnecessary boundaries which were created around class A cities, urban cities, and rural and tier 2, tier 3, and so on. So social sustainability is an important topic, but I am seeing some positive changes there.
Okay,
Absolutely.
great.
Absolutely.
Any,
Just
any
to quickly
addition?
add, yes, just a quick addition, completely in line with what Mr. Subhash talked about. I think what is essential to look at from a social metrics perspective, there are a variety of things. I think one aspect Subhash talked about is IDE. Many companies today are responsible for maintaining a good balance on inclusion, diversity, equity, referred to as IDE. I think Subhash alluded to that. Comparing living wages, average wage in relation to local cost of living, also part of this. Gender pay gap from a social perspective, overall employee engagement, sound business and people practices in terms of reskilling and training, taking care of health and safety related aspect, and CSR. Many companies have invested on CSR spend, corporate social responsibility, and how much of those charity work is going on, and what is the type of balance companies maintaining on wealth generation. These are some key aspects. Many operational excellence model touches on human part, but only at a superficial level. It's imperative that we need to go deeper into this and then see how, as an enterprise, we are playing a role in terms of our social responsibility, and then try to look at leveraging these aspects, that how much of progress we are making in these social related metrics, and that measurement is very important. Back to you, Anand.
Okay, thank you. The next
One
question.
more thing I'd like to add there.
Yeah, sure.
This is with quality also. We talked about not doing just one quality program for this year and done with it, but to sustain it forever and ever and make it a part of the organization. But when it gets to social responsibility, it goes through multiple generations. I mean, really, if you think about a company, when you take it's not, oh, I have an ESG program. Everybody knows it's a fraud. All the studies I've done on it, their students think, oh, this is a fraud. They just do this for political needs. So the only social responsibility that makes sense is where the organization builds on it for generations going through continually. They say, this is what we do, and they stay with it. So that long-term link with a particular social strategy or cultural strategy, and to be involved in it. So that's something that it has to be really at the beginning of the company. They should have that as their philosophy, and they should stay with it for a very long time, right through. It's very difficult, for many companies that haven't done it in the past to suddenly pick up one and latch it on and say, this is what we do. With a professor in Poland, I did a number of studies on it. As a rule, students basically, the subjects would say, oh, this is the social responsibility program du jour. They're doing this because it's fashionable and it's not real. To be real, it has to be part of the organization forever and ever. That's what they have done. So it's like a lifetime or a multiple lifetime commitment in that field. So that's basically what the organization needs. And very few organizations do that.
Fantastic. Thank you. Thanks, all of you for adding your views on this question. Moving to the next question from Rahul D. Why data remains the biggest ESG investing challenge for organization? Again, not pointing to any panelist here.
Probably I will start here, Anand. I will call out some of the key metrics. It's a very interesting question, by the way.
Sure.
And I will start with the G in ESG, letter G. Letter G stands for governance. Just to give you some examples of these metrics, and you would quickly understand the magnitude, why it is becoming a challenge. One of the key metric as part of organization reporting is executive pay ratio. Executive compensation in comparison to average employee compensation. One. Quality of governing body at a very, very high level. Diversity ratio of the executive board. Number of other commitments. What is the gender parity in the executive board participation? Number 3, we talked about earlier, ethics and anti-corruption policy compliance. The degree of compliance to this. And there are set of questions some of these rating boards ask, and they are like yes or no. There are no choices in ethics compliance. No choices given. Is it to great extent, to little extent, to some extent, no extent? Are you ethical? Yes or no? Period. Then ecosystem ESG. Now look at only on governance piece on these these aspects. Now, social, we talked about earlier some metrics on diversity, equity, all of those. Look at from environmental perspective, greenhouse gas emissions or air pollution, water consumption, environmental policies, nature's usage, how much of spoiling that's happening on the landfill from the company. These, if you look at these metrics, first of all, it's not that difficult, but requires courage. Very clear attitude from the entire enterprise as well as from the leadership perspective to maintain that balance. More of societal cause in the mind while making profit. As I said in triple bottom line P, we always put people first, planet and people, and then profit. Profit anyway is the last. How much intentfully the profit is coming towards the end. These are the reasons why it is becoming challenge. Challenge is not because of the technology. Challenge is not because of identifying metrics and measuring it. Challenge is because of the attitude. Exactly for the leadership attitude and the company's overall purpose and noble cause. With all this inclusive thinking in mind, it's making it more challenging. If the inclusive mindset comes up, it's not a challenge at all. Rather, they would appreciate and come forward. And there are positive cases also.
Fantastic. Moving to the next question, are principles and culture significant for sustainability? I think it's given thing, the way you have already answered it. The next question is Bikash Pahadi. If an organization doesn't create carbon footprint, for example, IT organization does not house data within premises and everything on public cloud, then is ESG still applicable?
I'll answer that. You cannot
Yes,
drop the sustainability scores of the cloud hosting service. That's going to factor into your score because it's your entire supply chain that comes into account in your sustainability score, not just what you do. So if you're buying, for electricity, where is it coming from? That's a score that comes through it. And the same is true when you have a cloud hosting service. You can't just wash away your hands off that. What's their sustainability? That factors into you and you get a score. I think that's something that they do when you buy an air ticket in India. I've seen that they put a score there. I think that's factored on the fuel, the plane and Boeing and everything else comes in. I hope so. That's when it'll make a true score. You can't say, I didn't build a plane. You built a plane, you bought it. So that building the plane costs a certain amount of score that factors to you. You get a share of that. So that's basically where it comes in.
Yeah. So each seat in the aeroplane contributes to the...
Right.
Yeah. Next question from Prabhat Mishra. How do we organize to deliver sustainability strategy, which includes structure, working approach, etc., that attract, develop, and retain the sustainability? I think more again, the sustainable efforts of the sustainability need to be sustainable. I think Subhashji or somebody wants to add on this. Little big question, yeah. Any comment? Should be embedded in the DNA. Yeah, again, you can't drop the sustainability scores of the cloud. Yeah, that's okay. Okay, so anybody whose question has not been taken up, you can probably put it again if I have missed it, as I move up and down on the chat box. From Hardik Joshi, what should be done to implementation of purpose orientation in effective way? For example, asking right questions as purpose is the root for where everything starts. I think Subhashji.
Yeah, I agree. Yes, asking right questions. But I want to bring one more point, and I will take this opportunity of answering this question to bring that point. The right way of doing sustainability, of looking at sustainability by an organization will be the way where the organization benefits by it in the present. Sustainability should not be seen as an investment for future. Certainly should not be seen as CSR. It is very much integrated to business. And the right way of doing sustainability is when organization benefits. Now, they may be not able to connect the two. They may, because they are really little distant. But just as all of us remember that Deming also said that quality is cheaper. So when you want to improve the quality of your product, the cost should not go up. It should come down because you are not wasting money in making defects or making defective products. Similarly, sustainability should become cheaper. And the day we reach there, it means we have really made good progress, and that's a good milestone to reach.
Fantastic. The question from Mr. Nathan, future of sustainability framework need to be integrated with blockchain and perform self-correct and alarm on the way. What are your views?
Absolutely, that was a brilliant thought, because if today many software applications are getting into self-healing, features. Even before the users gets to know what the challenge they're going to face, the challenge will be removed. That's the thought process, self-healing process. I think the sustainability framework and also the data that we're talking about, technology that we are going to take, all of these, I think you very well said, with blockchain, all of these should become a kind of self-imposed actions with no specific interventions. The data which is getting, if there is a data quality issue, it should automatically get corrected so that there are no surprises. So these kind of early warning signals must come, and using such interventions of technology, certainly that's the way forward for even sustainability framework to sustain. The best business practices also to sustain in the company. Very well said. I completely agree with this. Thank you.
Okay. So I'm coming to the last question as we are coming closer to our allotted time. Again from Shwetang, is more of a suggestion also, it seems. Accelerating race to net zero is important to minimize threat to existence of our planet. The suggestion, if digitalization is one of the solution, what bottlenecks do you see in adoption of digitalization in organizations, especially in emerging markets? I think it is more to do with digitalization. We can, if somebody wants to make very quick comment.
My own view is it's not necessarily that helpful. I know we can telecommute and not travel, but there's a lot of waste in digitizing itself. If you think about digital currency, it uses so much electricity, more than many small countries. Paper currency is a lot more efficient than digital currency in terms of energy usage. Okay, the tiny fraction of the economy run on Bitcoin consumes more power than many small countries, and cash currency is not that expensive. Now, sure, going from cash to a card and making sure the cards are efficient, yes, but Bitcoin is an incredibly inefficient system. So I don't know if digitization is the solution. It's really about based on how we consume and live our lives. That's far more important. What we consume is what far more important. Sure, by just telecommuting, you can avoid a commute, and that saves some gasoline and car usage, and that'll have some saving. But that's not going to solve us out of this problem. That's not going to solve it. It's something much deeper than that.
Okay, so I think this was the last question. Time up. There are some questions on the chat box, but I am sorry, we will not be able to take it now. We'll answer it offline. Now I request Bala sir to please take some time. Meanwhile, we are going to conduct the quiz, which was pending since yesterday. There was some technical glitch, so Sitalu will do that quiz based on yesterday's session. But before I request Sitalu to come over and administer the quiz, just final concluding 30 seconds remark from each of the panelists in terms of your advice to the quality professionals, excellence professionals who would like to contribute in this big initiative of sustainability, what they can start doing from tomorrow. Yeah, Sankaran, let's again start from you.
Sure. I think the role of quality is going to be critical in terms of directing the organization, supporting the organization as we have been doing in the past. Most important, upskill ourselves. Let's learn. The right knowledge is important. Let's learn about every component of ESG, sustainability, and quality function has got one amazing caliber that they touch all parts of the organization. And I hope there are companies in our my limited knowledge of consulting, traveling to different organizations, different countries. I've seen companies where the quality function rightfully used, not for certification purposes, but for actually establishing the constitution for the company. I don't use the term quality management system. That's equivalent to constitution. How constitution is important for a country, constitution is very important for the company. How do this function use the constitution, direct the organization towards the rightful practices and make it ingrained as part of it, not to drive it purely for the sake of certification. I think they touch all parts. They are like the roots. Everywhere they can touch, all functions they can touch. They should not think, oh, this certification, this particular function is not in scope. Let me not even enter into that. Avoid those. See the certification, pick up the best practices, look at what company's value system is all about. What is the company's culture all about? Ingrain everything along with the culture and see what's the company's contribution not only to their customers now, to everybody. Remember total experience strategy, that has to come into their mind, and then stitch the knots. Take a connected approach. Take always a connected approach, an inclusive approach is what is very, very important. Last but not the least, while I talked about for the quality function, upskilling themselves with these knowledge, I think for the leadership team of the company, again, my humble request to all of them, we have to go back to the good old days. When I say good old days, 1980s and 1990s, where quality function was directly reporting into the owner of the company, the leadership. And they are the one who have to go back and say if there are certain not rightful business practices being practiced, they must have all the freedom and empowerment to voice it over. Be a whistleblower and give that early warning signal back to the leadership team that we are not heading to the right direction, so that companies do not land up in any untoward sense of paying a severe penalty and regulators coming up heavily on them, or even pushing to the extent of leadership team have to step down. I think this is where the quality function must be leveraged. Their expertise must be leveraged in terms of bringing up a very, very green performance for the organizations.
Fantastic. Thank you so much. Subhashji, one mantra
Yes,
for quality team.
there is one thing common between quality and sustainability, that both are norms and not goals. And that's a big common. So business should run while maintaining quality. Business should run while maintaining sustainability. And if that they can imbibe to the business leaders, that will be a great value addition. They can also help in they themselves becoming purpose oriented, and that will do something good to the quality as well.
Thank you. Thank you so much. Yes, Professor Mahesh.
I think the most important thing is for sustainability numbers to be reliable and robust. This is a very complex field. Make sure that it's not window dressing, that it is real and an honest assessment of the business sustainability.
Fantastic. So, honesty.